So with the current state of the NHS, with junior doctor strikes, nurses strikes, poor working conditions, and all these things going on currently, I've actually been receiving a number of messages saying, Kenji, would you leave the career? Would you go abroad? And is going to medical school actually worth it anymore? So in this video, I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys and tell you exactly what I would do if I was to go back 6 years in time. Would I actually apply to medical school, or would I leave the career as a whole and do something entirely different? What is going on, guys? My name is Kenji and welcome back to the channel. Hope it's not the first time you're watching one of my videos, but just in case it is, I'm a first-year doctor working in London. And so what would I do? Would I actually go back in time and do medicine all over again to work in the NHS as it currently stands? Well, it kind of depends, and I'll give you guys my final answer right at the end of the video. However, if I was to go back 6 years from now, there's certain things that I definitely would deeply consider before considering a choice in medicine. And in this video, I'll be talking to you guys about exactly what those things are. My goal of this channel is not to tell you guys about all the amazing things that happen in medicine and in life in general, because of course those things happen, and I think a lot of people talk about those things. I want to be very honest with you and tell you guys about all of the dark side to medicine, quote unquote, and the things that are not as promoted on TV, on Scrubs, and all these, wonderful medical documentaries, series, and dramas. And I want you guys to be able to make an informed decision for yourself with both these sides, with both the good and the bad, because if not, I feel like I'll be doing you guys a disservice on my channel. So let's go ahead and talk about what are these things that I would deeply consider if I can go back in time, and how would these things that I consider actually affect my decision to do medicine. So the first thing that I would deeply consider before I actually chose this career of medicine is to really think about what could I do on this side, or something to support me financially. Now, it's pretty much an obvious reason why I'm saying this. As we know, junior doctors in the NHS are unfortunately not paid that well. After tax, I take home less than £2,000 a month. And when you consider the current kind of financial situation of the world, and particularly of the UK, when you pay rent, which costs £1,200 a month, and you're paying £100 for your car or more, paying for food, a lot of doctors don't end up with very much at the end of the month because of just current pay state of working as doctors here in the UK. Of course, if you're working abroad in America and stuff like that, that will vary, but currently as it stands, doctors are not paid well. In order to actually boost your income, I highly would recommend, if you're thinking about going into medicine, think about something you can do on the side, a little side hustle, whether that's making YouTube videos, becoming a creator, maybe you want to actually start tutoring kids on the side, maybe you want to get a second job. No matter what it is, I would highly recommend that you get a second form of income in order to boost your salary. And this actually doesn't necessarily only apply to doctors. I'd highly recommend this no matter what field you're in. It's a lot better and a lot safer to not rely on a single source of income for all of your money, because you never know what could happen. You could lose your job tomorrow, unfortunately, and that could be the end of it. Try and have multiple sources of income. Even if it's only £300, £400 per month, that could change an entire life forever. You'd be able to go on holiday maybe, once every 2 months. You might be able to treat yourself a bit more often. You might be able to invest that money. Having a second source of income is definitely something I would consider alongside becoming a doctor. So if you're thinking about going to medicine, go into medicine by all means if that's what you want, but also think about how can I boost my salary on the side to make life a bit more easier. The second point that I would consider before becoming a doctor is thinking about working less than full-time or studying less than full-time. Medicine and life as a doctor really is a marathon. It's not a race. It's a very long 5-6 years minimum of university. Then you move on to do your foundation training and then your specialist training. It's such a long process. And from the beginning of medical school until you become a consultant, it can take 10-15 years plus to reach that stage. So medicine really is about, managing your life, managing your stress. And working as a doctor, firstly, is a very stressful job, of course, because you're dealing with lives. Secondly, it takes up a huge amount of your time. When you're on call once or twice a week, working 13-hour shifts, working night shifts, it can definitely take a toll on your time and also your health, meaning you have less time to do other things that you might actually enjoy a lot more. So speaking for me in particular, I definitely would have considered doing less than full-time training as a foundation doctor. I never thought about that until now. However, when I move on to my specialist training next year, I definitely will be doing a less than full-time training program, which essentially means you're not doing 5 days a week. You might decide to do 80% less than full-time training, so that's 4 days a week, or 60% training, which is 3 days a week. And again, the reason why I suggest that is just to give you guys a bit more time to do other things on the side, whether that's working on a side hustle or working on your hobbies or seeing your family. No matter what that is, doctors right now, particularly in the NHS, are under a huge amount of stress because of the workload. And that is not just, unique to the NHS. Around the whole entire world, doctors work really hard, long hours. And the second thing that I would consider, less than full-time training during medical school. And on that point, point of being worked out, you guys know that I only work with brands that I really support and really love, and that's why I'm happy to tell you guys about Magicmind, who are kindly sponsoring the video. Throughout medical school, I really struggled to stay focused for long hours whenever I was revising for my exams, and even now during my life as a doctor, it's super hard sometimes to work these 13-hour shifts, and that's when I discovered Magicmind, who really changed my life. In order to stay awake for those long hours of revising and also on my day shift as a doctor, I often sometimes would have 2, 3, and sometimes 4 cups of coffee in order to help me be more productive. However, the problem with coffee, I don't know about you guys, but definitely for me, the more coffee I consume, the more anxious I tend to feel, and that can be quite difficult. After discovering Magicmind, I was really happy to make it part of my morning routine alongside drinking my cup of coffee, because I found that the effects of caffeine with Magicmind tend to be a lot longer and allow me to be more productive throughout my day and get more things done. The other nootropic agents in Magicmind not only help enhance the effects of coffee, but also help with stress reduction and relaxation. An example of this nootropic agent in Magicmind is L-theanine, which when paired with coffee increases your focus and attention. Because the interesting thing about coffee is that it doesn't actually give you more energy. How caffeine actually works is that it binds to the ADP receptors and blocks them, and that's what makes you feel more energized. However, when the receptors actually unblock 3 to 4 hours later, if you don't have that next cup of coffee, is that you get this caffeine crash that we all know very well. So the nootropic agent L-theanine in particular actually prevents caffeine from fully binding to the ADP receptors and therefore resolving the caffeine crash that you feel and also the jitters that you feel after consuming coffee. So if you guys want to increase your focus and attention, then I highly recommend you check out Magicmind, and you can actually get 20% off your order by clicking the link down below or using my code on the screen. And they actually have a money back guarantee, so if you don't actually enjoy the product, you can get the money back, no questions asked. That's Magicmind. Let's get on to the rest of the video. The next thing that I would consider if I was to go back in time regarding working as a doctor is actually considering my options for going abroad. Now, this is a bit of a controversial point, particularly because of what's going on in the NHS, I know. However, I would still mention this point even if the NHS was completely perfect and all of our problems were solved. For me in particular, I never actually considered going somewhere like America or Canada or wherever. The reason being is that I never found any particular reason to actually go, but I definitely would say if you're starting off medical school, don't make the assumption that I made, which is, you know what, these countries are not for me, there's more exams and it's a long process, just forget about it. I'd actually take the time to consider, would it be better to work in America, in Canada, or in other countries across the world? The reason being is that, again, you don't want to rely on one system for a job. You want to be able to look at all these different options and think, where would I get the best training? Where would I enjoy it the most? Where would I be the happiest? And where would I get the best quality of life for me and my family? And of course, be able to help patients in that particular country. You want to have the most available options to you, and that will really help you with your career if you do decide to go on to do medicine. And the last thing that I would consider if I was to go back 6 years in time is I would actually strongly consider other specialties in the healthcare field, such as dentistry. And I'm not saying dentistry or any other healthcare profession is actually better than medicine, because medicine is an amazing degree and being a doctor is so amazing, but it really is important to make an informed decision. So when you go into medicine, you know exactly why you chose medicine in particular and not any other subject out there that you could have chose instead. And to be honest with you guys, I never actually fully considered any other specialty or any other sort of career out there. I never actually even thought of dentistry or anything else. I'm not entirely sure why, but if I actually didn't do that myself, I'm sure that many of you guys watching would probably do the same thing. You would seed medicine and you would stick to it without fully considering any other option. I spent so much time working in hospitals and GP practices, volunteering to try get loads of medical work experience, but I actually should have done the exact same thing in dentistry, in working in science, and all these other sort of amazing healthcare fields, so that I know that medicine is 110% for me. For example, dentistry in particular is another great alternative. You get paid really well, you can work in the private sector from quite early on. It is a stressful field, but it's not stressful in terms of life or death like medicine is. It's another 5-6 year course, which is great and, you know, is really interesting. And that's another area that I really wish I fully explored, not because I necessarily would go into dentistry, because I probably would have chose medicine anyways, but just again so I know that medicine 110% is for me. It's a lot easier to do that when you're 16, 17 than it is to do when you're 23 years old and already a qualified doctor. So let's finally answer that juicy question that I'm sure all of you guys were wondering. Would I still do medicine all over again if I was to go back in time? And the honest answer is yes, I actually probably would, and I definitely feel like I would, even given all of the problems that we're currently facing as doctors. However, on that point, I really would strongly consider all of these factors that I just mentioned to you guys, and that really would allow me to set up a life as a doctor that would be a lot more enjoyable if I fully know that I chose this career because I said no to all the other careers. If I had a side hustle that would really help me financially because of the pay problems that we currently have, if maybe I worked part-time because that would help me with my stress levels. This is something that I think all of us should think about, and you might be the sort of person who might consider these factors that I mentioned and realize, actually, I want to work 80% rather than 100% as a doctor. I want to spend the other day working on a side hustle. I actually want to, consider something else completely like dentistry. No matter what that is, I think it's so important that you guys make informed decisions, because guys, on this channel, I'm not here to tell you guys to do medicine or to not do medicine. I'm here to inform you guys, bring on different people onto the channel who have different experiences in medicine, people who love medicine, people who hate it, people who left it, people who stay in it. And I want you guys to take all of this information and use your intelligence that I know you have to make the best decision ever for you. And if this video has helped you out in any way and has changed your mindset, then I'd love to hear how it exactly has. So please leave me a comment down below. I reply and look at all the comments that you guys make, making sure you're subscribed with notifications on to never miss another upload. And before you leave, here are a bunch of videos on my channel that you might actually enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.